Hey friends, Kevin Dairaghi. Welcome to the Kevin Dairaghi Show. Today our friend is Matt Kamp, known a lot for the deal machine world, but he is such a freaking nice guy. He's a great guy. We will get to his talk in a second, but I do want to make sure that we thank our vendors, right? These are the guys that are out there supporting and also doing the work of the business that we do, right? So Lois Mans, Farmers Insurance, Greg Mans with Upright Construction. We have Jason Hudson with Red Maples construction, and we have Adam Droege in CRS, the Complete Property Management Solution. So, guys, these guys are the people that are actively in our business, helping support the podcast, but are also doing the business in the real estate investing world that we do. So, guys, we are going to talk to Matt. Matt is a fantastic guy. So his journey is different than everyone else's journey, right? So he's a South County guy. He gets so much, I think, spawned out of his college, out of his high school, right? His wife comes out of high school. His future business partners come out of high school, but they go off to college. He gets started in a startup company, and then goes off and gets involved in another startup company that happens to be in real estate. But he always knew that real estate was going to be part of his journey, and now he's actively investing and servicing software that is made for investors. So it's really awesome to see his journey and then how good guys really can finish first, right? It's okay to be good and be successful. So, guys, let's jump in and have a conversation with Matt. Hello, everybody, and welcome. I am excited to have my friend Matt Kamp. Matt, how you doing?
Doing great, Kevin. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, man. So it's been fun. I've watched you grow so much over the years, Matt. And one of the reasons you're on here, one, right? You're a stud at Deal Machine, right? If you don't know what Deal Machine is, we'll go into that in just a minute. But two, you're an awesome guy. We have ran some deals together. We have played some pickleball. And it turns out you have a long history with our producer, Jake. Jake
Yeah.
from Doorward.
Yeah, I've known Jake for quite a while. I mean, before this, I was in more the marketing agency world and the startup world there, and I knew him through that. So I'm a big fan of Jake as well. So hey, Jake, thanks for all the work you do here.
gotta give. I mean, he's not on the camera, so we got to make sure he gets his credit. Yeah. But man, I'll tell you, he has been doing a great job. Have you watched any of our shorts recently?
I haven't seen it. I need to see what he's working on there. But I every time I catch up with him, he's just such a positive ball of energy that I always come out of it like inspired and learning something new from him. So yeah, big fan of Jake's.
Big fan. See, Jake, look, we're so perfect. No, I am happy with what he's doing. He's actually been doing a great job getting the message out there. Also, Paul Myers and some of the other guys over there. So it's well, you kind of run a podcast yourself, don't you?
Yeah, I was going to say, I know we've had you on for our calls and got our YouTube channel going and everything for Deal Machine. So yeah, absolutely. We've got some similar circles and some mutual friends here. I love it.
That is great. Actually, so you're mostly the one who runs it, but you have two names on that. Who are those guys?
So there's a couple things. So I run our interview series, our Thought Leader Spotlight interviews. We've done a couple hundred of those, and those are on YouTube, all over the place on social media. We send those out via email and everything. And then our podcast, which, we re-air a lot of that stuff on there, but our podcast is run by David Lecco, who's our CEO, and then Ryan Haywood, who's a gentleman in St. Joe, Missouri, that has been a Deal Machine customer for a long time. Basically since we started, and has done literally hundreds of deals with us. And so he's a Deal Machine expert in that way, but also just a fascinating guy that, puts family first and really aligns with a lot of our values there too.
That's awesome. And so quick shout out here, Deal Machine, right, is South County, St. Louis based.
Yep. I was going to say, we've got 4 guys that have known each other for 20 plus years, grew up in South County together, went to Melville together, like guys.
Of course. Yeah.
There you go.
I mean, 1 for 2.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So we're definitely guys who, they were, in my wedding party, like, some of my best friends growing up. So it's great to, be able to trust each other at that level in business as well. And just so happened where we all had passions in different areas of business and have been a great team.
So I had to ask, Matt, when you got started, did you start in corporate America or did you start something here with your buddies? How did that kind of transpire?
Yeah, so we grew up in St. Louis together. A few of us went to University of Missouri, went to Mizzou, and when we were there, I wasn't even into like startups quite yet. It was just something that I went to college, and I did the J school in journalism and business at Mizzou, and that was why I was excited about Mizzou in J school and everything. Kind of went that path, and I joined. When I went to Mizzou, I really thought like, hey, sports marketing. I was always really, really into that, and thought, oh man, I'd love to work for a team, or I'd love to get into something sports marketing related or sports related. And I saw like marketing and sales as kind of my personal strengths and things. And so I actually went to Mizzou, did a ton of internships. I interned at Fox Sports. I interned for the St. Louis Cardinals. I interned for University of Missouri Athletics. And it was fun. But I would also have these projects on the side where, like the iPhone was brand new, like mobile was becoming a thing. Social was becoming more and more of a thing. All this kind of tech opportunity out there, and these, ability to just go out there and make something happen sooner than later using technology, just having an idea and making it real. That was something that I was just getting into. And I was like, man, this is really, really cool. Like this whole startup thing, I'm a big fan of. And so I started to apply my skills to that world, network into that world. And that's where these other buddies from high school, one of them is like the best coder I've ever met. One of them was a coder and also a leader in business. He's our CEO as well. One of them was a sales leader. One of them's like our head of product. So they each kind of found their different niches that we all came together in college and worked on ideas together. And, it was really, really fun kind of experiment there. Learned a lot, met a ton of amazing people. And then when we got done with our college experience, we're like, okay, hey, now it's time to go find a real opportunity here beyond just these fun, side projects we're doing as a student. And there was a startup in that community that we met that was really starting to take hold and grow quickly. Influence & Co was the name of it. And met those folks when they had, I think I joined, I was like number 6 or 7, somewhere in that ballpark.
Oh, wow.
So I was very early stage with, with my, a couple other buddies again that joined that company, and we ran with that. I was there for 7 or 8 years. That's where I met Jake. We grew that to over 100 or probably about 100 people, something like that, in the marketing agency world, and really loved my time. And that's where I really got that love for startups beyond this too. And, slowly one at a time, the 2 guys who started Deal Machine peeled off from that. One of them was basically the CTO at Influence & Co. And helped co-found Deal Machine. And, they started growing that for a few years, and they're like, man, we've got a business over here now that this is a real thing. We're going to double down on our growth. And so I jumped from doing partnerships at Influence & Co. to Deal Machine about 5 years ago. And it's been, kind of got the band back together over there. And it's been a fun journey since.
Well, that's awesome. Now you're nationwide, if not larger, right?
Yeah, we've had deals done in every single state in the U.S. Like actual deals happened, and we've had almost 15,000 deals done using Deal Machine at this point. So it's been around for almost a decade now, which is crazy to say. It's been what, 8 years ish. So yeah, it's been a fun journey.
And the part that I like is you are also an investor, right? So
Yes.
it's one
Yeah.
that you're dealing in something that is in and around real estate, but
Mhm.
you saw successes, all this stuff. And then you also figured out, hey, I could do this too. And not only that is the people in the business are happy that you're also doing it because now you
Oh
know
yeah,
how to talk to other investors and other
customer.
people getting into it. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's something I read, growing up, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I listened to Bigger Pockets. Like I always knew real estate was, no matter what I was going to do for the day job, like real estate is going to be a part of this journey, right? It's the best wealth generating tool out there. And so it's like, hey, you know what, at some point I want to get into that. And then over time, just naturally, my friends were getting into it more. I was meeting more people in that world. And then Deal Machine started. And I'm like, man, when I joined Deal Machine, part of the appeal wasn't just the opportunities, the company and with friends, but also, hey, this is an industry I want to get into. And so I use that as a great reason to be able to go in and become an expert in Deal Machine and then apply that. And like you said, the team has been very encouraging of really the whole Deal Machine team getting in and doing their own deals as well, and just using the product and becoming our own customer. Right. So,
it's
yeah.
great. I mean, I'm a big fan of being consistent, right? If I am in this lane, I also want to do the things that I'm saying that I'm doing. Like,
Yep. Yep.
you're now what? You're now a speaker. You're on podcast. You go out and you talk in conferences and seminars. And like, did you know that that was going to be part of your trajectory when you were starting off?
Going into it, like when they said, "Hey, we want somebody to run with partnerships," it was referrals were a big part of our business. Is 30-40% of Deal Machine's growth, has been up to 50% sometimes has been referrals and things. So they grew very word of mouth, but they never had somebody completely focused on that as a way to get out there. And so going into it, like at Influence and Co, I was doing a little bit of speaking. I was kind of getting used to that about really similar goals of, okay, I want to generate referrals, I want to educate people, I want to help them. But then on the Deal Machine front, it really matters. Like we're a DIY tool, right? Like it's not done for you. It's hey, you got to go in there and use it yourself. So the more that I can really share best practices and share, hey, here's what's working and here's what we see our top customers doing and things like that makes them more successful. That means they're gonna achieve their why, achieve their dreams, but also they're gonna stick with us too. So it's a win-win all the way around, right? And so I knew going into it to be education and teaching and things like that. But yeah, I'm definitely doing more speaking than I probably initially thought I would be, in conference settings and on podcasts like this.
So what was your first like large one? Like, were you in a conference or was there a room full of people? Like, what was the first time you stood up and had that look? Like,
yeah, I've done it enough that I don't get, all the butterflies, but it's still, it can be there a little bit. Right. So, I'd say there's virtual and there's in person, which I think are two very different experiences too. Like the virtual, I dove into that pretty quickly where I was just going in and, I would, when I took over partnerships, we had all these people who were referral partners that said, oh, awesome. Like come on my, thing and teach my students about Deal Machine or teach my group about this or that. And so I kind of cut my chops there. The big evolution that I found on the virtual front is we came up with this, this kind of challenge format, which is a series of talks where I would come on and really had tweaked this. I've done this probably 100 times now, so I've really kind of tweaked the formula here. But it's a series of webinars, usually about 3 of them, where we split up a big teaching over into bite-sized pieces. And the key with it is that it's very interactive. So, I would come on and I would say, hey, here's how to go identify, lead deals, identify hidden deals in your market. Okay, great. Your homework is go actually build a list of leads tonight. And then, come back tomorrow or the next day, and I'm going to teach you about, okay, here's what you do with those addresses. Here's how to market to them. And okay, cool. Your homework is to actually go do that. And then, okay, the final day, come back and we're going to give away prizes. We're going to, wrap things up. Like that kind of format, that public speaking format is the formula I found over time. So that the virtual side, I dove in right away there. And then the in-person conference, I think the first big one we did, there was one that it's called, it was Wholesaling Inc.'s event out like 4 years ago, maybe, in Phoenix, if I remember correctly. And it had like 600-700 people there, something like that. It was a big conference. And David and I went up there and we did a live deal finding competition where we had people download Deal Machine, taught them how to use it live, and then literally try to call and make an appointment happen live. And to see the energy in that room, Vince was in that room actually, my business partner for local deals. To see the energy in that room and people like really get into it and things, that was fun. So that was kind of my first big live setting, I'd say, for speaking.
And then, so how do you, was it hard doing that? Because I remember my first example, I was on a panel. I don't know if I told you this story. And there's like these 3 or 4 other people, and they're just amazing and big names and gulp, right? That big gulp. Yeah. And I looked and it was like a cartoon. They all just rolled out there and there was just all these tables and all these bodies, right? Mm-hmm. And I started talking, but instead of just talking about, hey, I'm amazing, what I think everybody else was saying over on the, oh, look at me, I don't mess up. I'm like, oh man, I have all sorts of failures, like this, and then I started seeing their heads like, yes, like I could relate to this side of it.
That's great.
And that whole room that looked like it went on forever, like rolled all the way up again, like a cartoon. And like I saw people. And once I started seeing individuals that actually could relate to real life, not this fake thing that people talk about, I was like, oh, this isn't so bad. Yeah. People talk about public speaking that you want to look over their heads. And for me, it's like, I need to see the person because then I know if they're hitting it or if they're like your podcast, you had the little row of faces at the bottom. And then like, there's a couple of them that were like, yes, keep talking. And I'm like, okay, like now I know somebody's paying attention. When you're just talking to mythical world, it's a little bit harder for me, at least. I
Yeah.
need to see people.
Yeah, for me, the big thing too, yeah, the interactivity. Like I try to throw in, audience participation and interactivity around, like for example, using Deal Machine Live, that kind of stuff really helps me out in terms of getting that feedback and trying to play what they need. And then, for me too, it's speaking from personal experience and not overthinking it too much, where you think, oh, you're getting judged by every word that that you say. It's more like, hey, get out of your own head and just speak what is true to you. And hey, if it resonates, then amazing. And if it doesn't, that's all right too. So, yeah.
So it seems like you had a nice little bridge going from right high school to college to a startup company feel, and then just over with your friends, and then now you're doing your own real estate right next to those. Matt, was it that easy?
In hindsight, it sounds easy, right? It's
Yeah,
like,
that's
it
sort
was
of like
connected perfectly. Yeah, yeah.
startup companies and jumping into real estate and starting
Yeah.
another startup. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
any of those things are also issues. Like, I also know you're married with kids, and
Yep,
when you jump into a startup, it doesn't mean you have money. Like,
for sure. Oh
how
yeah.
was some of that? Tell us what life was like through those
Yeah.
transitions.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And it's still, I mean, we still, I don't know when you stop saying startup, but still have kind of that mentality of, going out there and being able to go and make things happen and not just be, in like a corporate machine per se, right? It's, very, very much go out there and self-driven in that way. Yeah. I think, there have definitely been, I guess, calculated risks along the way too, where it's like, oh man, when I left after college into this startup, I was making a salary that was probably like a third of what I maybe could have, market rate, and it was like, hey, I was very lucky that for on the personal side, like I have my wife I've known also, which is funny to think about, also known her since high school too. So we had a pretty formative high school experience. There. Yeah, in South County and things. But yeah, so I've known her for that long as well. And, she was an architectural engineer, came out of her college. She went to Kansas State, and we did long distance and made it work. Like you find out real quick if that's going to work or not. And we were like the one couple that I knew that actually stuck it through, which was pretty awesome. But yeah, she's been a rock there of, okay, hey, you can go do something risky like this startup that you're not going to make much, and for the upside of long term, and her be a stable income, and that it's definitely stressful. There's definitely times where we were like, man, we'll see how this works out, and might have to have plan B or whatnot too. But had that going on, kind of going into it, and then we actually even as well. Growing up, my mom was actually at home and her mom was at home. And so she always had this, her real dream job for her was, hey, I would love if we can ever make it work to be a stay-at-home mom, at least for when the kids were young. And so, she got to a point where, things with Influence and Co. Again, it's, there's always ups and downs and everything, especially my roles were always very performance based. So, there were some months that were way more stressful than others in terms of, the paycheck that's going to be coming in. But we got to a point where we were confident, like, hey, let's make that leap and at least try it out and see how long we can go with Kira being at home, my wife. And she had an awesome job too, like the architectural engineering stuff. Even at that job, we knew we wanted a family. She always was like, yeah, I'd love for someday to if we can be that presence at home, for at least while they're young. Yeah, we were able to, going through that. That was probably the most stressful period, I think, of my professional career, was like making that leap and being in a job that was like 2/3 commission based, right? It's like, oh man, I have to perform or we're going to be really stressful at home. And now we've got a baby on the way and or one at home, and hey, we gotta make the ends meet, right? So like she's been amazing through all of that. I know for me, yeah, that time, there have been, again, off and on months that have been harder than others, and things where it's like, I probably could have been better from a health perspective in terms of how I process that anxiety. Through all of that, have made it work, and she's been home since then. And we went through, and I joined Deal Machine 2020, and also in another role that's performance based as well. So I'm still having to go out there and yeah, like perform. And that's the thing that I that gets me going. That's my why is going out there, having family that I'm, now have 3 kids, now have my wife, and they're to a point too where, hey, yeah, we could look at, and we talked about like, oh, does Kira want to do, something as well in addition to me? And, where they're finally old enough that it's like, okay, they're in school now, and, she's got a little more time to breathe than she did when they were really little. But it still still have ups and downs, and we're still figuring it out, but we've made it work thus far. So
I tell you, it's an adventure, and it really helps when there is one that's an anchor. Because I know a couple couples or families that both jump in, and if you both don't know what you're doing, it's highly volatile, and it puts a lot of pressure on the other areas. So just a example, our core tenets here is the most important real estate is between your ears. Your personal drives your professional, and it's all about relationships. Of those relationships, we do have a tool over at Kevin Dairaghi /tools. It's like a snapshot of what each of the lines are, so you can kind of see where you're at. But knowing that you have a rock, like in your case, your relationship with your wife, significant or love, right? That's pretty solid, which means it's easier to jump to other areas. Now, if there's an area that's under attack, say you're going through a divorce or something like that, that's low, which means it's really hard to show up on the other parts of your life there.
Makes sense. Yeah.
And it's any one of these relationships could crack the whole wheel. If you don't pay attention to it, like your health or wellness or your money, like, what do you call success? Well, when you're not breaking really, but those low spots are really also the times where you could step off and do some amazing things.
Yeah. I know you, that really resonated with our, when you spoke to our community a little while back on the most important real estate being between your ears. And I'll have to check out the tool, but it's definitely, it's something that no matter what, if you don't have that right, the rest isn't going to work, right? So,
that's what was it, Henry Ford? Whether you think you can or can't, you're right. And it's one of those like, it's just such a simple word, but it's also so important.
Yeah.
Are you a fan of history? Like, do you like reading and stuff?
Yeah. I definitely. My dad was always a big like documentary guy and throwing the History Channel and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I dabble. I'll say.
I dabble. All right. Well, what's your most favorite documentary?
I'm trying to remember with my dad. What's funny is we've actually been way more on the animal side, so like the Planet Earth type stuff. That type of stuff where if you go on and check like whatever's the newest animal documentary in Discovery,
definitely,
we're in. So the kids have been definitely more that direction. I do enjoy history, and one thing, maybe this drew me to St. Louis too, is I love the history here. Like we've always, the neighborhoods here, just the history of it being like, one of the biggest cities in the U.S. and to see like the architecture and, the culture and all that. Those are some of the things I really appreciate about St. Louis. And we've lived in the city for 12 plus years and love that, that kind of the neighborhood feel here in St. Louis. So, it's, I think from a history standpoint that way too, I definitely have an appreciation for it and find it fascinating too.
So my kids are older than yours, but I got 2 in high school and they're starting to be like, hey, these documentaries aren't so bad, Dad. I'm like,
yeah, there we go. Netflix does a good job. Like I feel like, I go on there, I'm getting suggested like a new World War II documentary most days. But I definitely enjoy it.
So here's, if you haven't, probably my top 3 would be Men Who Made America. That was a History Channel one. Fantastic.
Yeah.
2 would be Guns, Germs, and Steel. Jared Diamond talks about how basically the major turning points in the world, really. When the Mideast had such a head start on everybody else, how did we end up getting to where we are now? Fascinating. It's a 3-part series that's on Amazon.
Yeah.
And the last one might be my most controversial one there because it is World War II, but it's following Hitler. It's Hitler's inner circle.
Wow.
And I don't like Hitler, but watching how he used tools that you and I both have to do something as big as he did, I'm not saying it's good. It is not good. It was evil. But the fact that he was able to do this with his words and speaking and influence, and all these people jockeyed around him to get his influence, and it's just crazy what it was and how all this stuff, it's horrible stuff, but it happened through tools that we could use for good as well.
Yeah,
Um,
that's
and
interesting.
that's where it's like, okay, we have, for honor and dishonor, we wield it, right, with the power of our tongue. And it's just an example that why don't we use the same tools for good on a larger scale? And that's why we do podcasts and things like this. So,
Mhm. Yeah, I love that the availability of information today like this. So it's focusing on the right stuff is is another matter. But yeah.
so one of my questions, Matt, you kind of answered it. So
Mhm.
I'm going to give you time to answer it again. Talking about architecture in St. Louis, we have the Eads
Yeah,
Bridge.
yeah.
So early this year, my keystone address was about Eads Bridge, and it comes down
Mhm.
to three things: dream, forge, finish. Right. So
Mhm.
you knew that real estate was going to be in your world, right? You
Mhm.
knew it, right? Dream. Forge is when they built Eads Bridge, they had three building materials at that time. It was stone, it was wood, and it was iron. And that did not cut it for what the Mississippi needed here. Over a mile long, it had to be so high for steamships going up and down, railroad going over the top, strong currents, sandy bottom, all this stuff, right?
Mhm.
Long story short, they needed to go and make iron into steel, right? And it was a
Mhm.
forging process, which means it's hot. There's pressure. It's not friendly by any means.
Yeah.
You have to throw in additives, right? Healthy habits or good routines, and you have to take out impurities, bad habits, etc.,
Mhm.
so they could become steel, which was strong enough character-wise, right, to be able to get east to west, connect that vision. And then the last part there was finish. A unfinished bridge does not get you across the river.
Yeah.
So in that case, what would you say was Matt Kamp's forging moment? Like, when did you know, like, hey, I'm not going to go back and take the easy road. I'm not going to go do this. I'm going to stay and follow the path. What would you
Yeah.
say is one of your forging moments?
That's such a good question. I love the metaphor too, because you spoke about that at Gateway to Freedom too, right? Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I remember that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think even just going back, really, college was such a formative experience for me there, where there's kind of a couple things. So one, going into it, like I mentioned, I thought, hey, I love sports. I think, I love this whole, I went to the Mizzou journalism school, like kind of tours and that, and started getting involved there and was like, oh, I love this world. These are, let me try to combine all these things and had one picture of where I was going in that. And really tried it out. Really, it was something that also, it was 2008. And so the world was like, economically ending right in that way.
Yeah,
So it's like,
yeah.
okay, I need to do something different, or I'm going to be one of these people who are graduating without a job right now. Right. And
Yeah.
so, with all of that kind of combined, I went into that world and realized, man, being a fan of a team and working for a team are two very different things. And, being able to go in and, experiencing this for myself, but through experience, through internships and me just putting myself out there. And, like I said, did Fox Sports, did Mizzou Athletics, did the Cardinals, did a variety of different things. All of that really opened my eyes to, hey, there's this other path that I was really getting involved with in school. I was nudged in the right direction by a few mentors on embracing technology and the power that has into this whole startup thing of come up with an idea and go make it happen, right? And there was a really formative experience with Startup Weekend, is an event that's in Columbia that's really big, where essentially everybody comes with an idea or not. We get 100 200 people that show up. People pitch ideas on, hey, I think there's this problem and here's how I think we can solve it, and they try to kind of recruit a team around solving as much of that idea as possible in a 72-hour span. And so people pitch ideas, form teams around it, and then at the end of the weekend everybody shows, hey, here's the progress we made on it, here's the proof of concept, here's the actual widget that we made. It's like a whole, you don't sleep much, but it's a whole kind of deep dive, hackathon kind of thing that you're doing through that weekend. And I did a couple of those that were extremely transformative for me. So going through those experiences where it's like, oh, you can take an idea, run with it, and it's not going to be easy, but you have the power to go solve a problem and use technology to help you, or use whatever tools you have to help you. That was kind of a shifting moment for me. And I always hear people, I've heard this quote a few times around like, hey, you can do, the easy thing and have, struggle in other areas, like have a harder life in that way, or you can tackle hard things and, maybe that's going to open up freedoms in, in other areas of your life, right? Like have an easier time in other areas. And so I've always said like, hey, I'm going to go for those hard things. I'm going to really, try to problem solve, try to be, I don't know if it's innate or, I had great parents to help me really become self-driven. But just all that really lined up around that kind of end of high school into college area, and then have continued to just pursue that path and take it from next thing to next thing.
Awesome, man. So Matt, in some of your journey here, like what advice do you have to give? I mean, I know your primary people that you talk to are people like me, right? People, solopreneurs, people with teams working on this stuff. If you could give advice to some of these people, right? Because you manage and deal with many, many people in startup mentality and up and running mentality. Like, what advice can you give these people? Is it really a tool that they're looking for? Is it really comfort and security you give them? What do you think? What do you think people need, Matt?
Yeah, just entrepreneurs in general. I mean, I think so. A couple of things. One right off the bat, I really tried to focus on kind of identifying my strengths, and doubling down on those. Like really, really understanding. Okay, the networking side for me, the finding like partnerships in general, which is kind of such an ambiguous term, but it's like finding a win-win with other groups, right? And trying to connect the dots. And I was focusing on that myself, but then also it was the people around me that was the biggest impact. Like more than anything, it's okay, surround yourself with amazing people because you're going to absorb what they're teaching and how they process things. Like I had one mentor, John, that in my first gig, that Influence & Co gig right out of college, he was very much forging me in the way of, okay, hey, when you talk to somebody, like find how you can help that person. Ask, be genuine about it. Ask great questions. Actively listen to them. Try to figure out how can you solve a problem for them or connect them with somebody, or really try to focus on them and put the onus on them, not what you can get out of them or not selling them, but it's, hey, how can I help this person? And he really, imprinted that mindset on me in a time that I was, again, like new in my career period. And so I've really focused on doubling down that when it comes to sales and like partnerships, networking, that whole world. And then just aligning myself with other amazing people. Like, one example is Vince, right? Like we're doing local deals together, and we would not have been doing those deals if we didn't, have each other there. Like we're each other's accountability partners and really learn from each other and really team up together and tackle different things, logistically even. And it's, so finding people like that, even in Deal Machine, I've got team members. Jenny's incredible. She works with me on my team and is like on the partnership team, but also kind of helps as an executive assistant almost type of role. And teaming up with her, she's just so organized and gets things done every day and is helping manage my inbox and these different individual things that it just wouldn't happen unless you surround yourself with amazing people. So it's both like finding the right people to align yourself with, knowing how you fit in that picture based on your strengths and what you can really double down on and become like amazing at that whatever you're naturally wired to do. And then along the way too, I know I mentioned it earlier, but the health thing is so crucial that I've definitely had moments where, especially when we first started having kids, where I'd like, it'd be easy for me to slip off the health train. And then, a few years later, I noticed, oh man, I've gained, 30, 40 pounds here. Like this is not good. And so like going through that, and I realized that was like a little bit of a crutch for me too, was just, letting health slip. And, being able to say, hey, you got to have yourself working and functional and at performing, at the top of your game personally, if you're going to, do the rest of this. Right. So, making sure that you don't let that, become, second fiddle when it is easy to say, oh yeah, I'll work out tomorrow or the next week, or I'll eat better this day or that day. Like it's, health has been a big part of the journey too.
It's funny you say that. Like you spend so much time speaking and on camera, like you're put together well, right? And I don't really care, like it's not my big thing. But my wife was also like, hey, you need to make sure you're cutting your hair or trimming your beard, or, like it was like, oh, because you don't know when somebody's taking a photo, when somebody's doing something. And it's like, how can I help somebody change their life? Why would somebody want to be me if I don't look like I'm put together? Like if I was grossly obese or something, like, is this what I'm going to become? Well, maybe I'll go with somebody who's, a little bit more structured in that.
Yeah. And it's easy to like, to make excuses on, oh yeah, I'll eat better this day, or I'll, work out that day, or, I got to finish this now. Like there's no way I have time for that. Right. So it's, for me, it's been more about building good habits that you don't have to necessarily spend mental energy on thinking every day. If you can kind of build those things in, the rest can align really well. Like, for example, my kids have recently, we call it Run Club, but my kids recently, which is, I would never have done this as a kid, so I don't know where they get this from, maybe their mom's side, but my two oldest boys wake up and now they want to go for a jog around the neighborhood with me. And they in my middle one especially, like, he'll open up. He's not super quiet, but he can be, take a little bit of questioning to get him to really open up. And for whatever reason on those runs, that's like his time to just kind of spill what he's thinking. And it's turned into an awesome time with me and the boys in the morning. But little things like that where I know, hey, I'm building this in my schedule. This is going to happen. And that way I don't have to think about, how I get some cardio in today. So I've got that. Right. So,
well, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So for me, so our kids, especially a couple of years ago, we had three different schools. We had 3 hours for drop off and drive it every day. Wow. And it was just like, right. Cause it was before they could drive. And I get frustrated, right. Cause I have things I'm doing, right. I have things I need to do or be. And then I switched the mental thing. Like, man, I have this 10, 15 minutes with this kid. It's just going to be him and I. Like, how can we start a conversation? Like, let's do something bigger. So I tell them about life and business and different things going on, or I put on a book and hopefully like something there would trigger something, so it's, but it's like when you switch your mindset, it's like, okay, how can I enjoy this run? How can, it's not always what we can do. It's sometimes we're just second, right? What do they need to experience with us?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's truly one of the parts of the day I look forward to most is we're probably a 20 to 25 minute drive to school, which, it's not, next door or anything. But that time I try to prepare a little bit of like a couple things I'll bring up, I try to be ready to go with that a little bit, but really just that bonding time is amazing with the kids. Cause they're focused, they're stuck in the car with me and they got, it's a great time to have them completely, present with me. And, it's something easy too. I mean, we're constantly followed around. We've got phones, we've got watches, we've got everything that can be blowing us up at all times, especially in a sales role or something that's a networking based role. So really being intentional about being focused and present is something that I'm always working on, and especially as a dad. So, yeah.
Good. So actually that's, if you look, I don't have any of the Apple Watches. I don't want it always watching. Like, I make sure I leave it away sometimes. Like when I go on my walks, it's one of those, like, I don't need it. And do you get phantom buzzes like in your pants where you think your phone's ringing or something? You're
that's actually why I like the Apple Watch for me, is that I did like legitimately get those phantom buzzes for if I had it in my in my pocket. But on here, I can actually, I know someone's calling or whatnot. So I get like a real, so there's pros and cons to it, I guess. But yeah, it's, this has kind of eliminated the phantom buzz for me.
Yeah. It's a weird feeling. You're like, it's like, no, you're just wrong, man. Hey, I'm winding up on time because I need to get you to your meeting here. But real briefly, can you describe what Deal Machine is?
Yeah, happy to. Yeah, so essentially think of it as a real estate data and lead gen platform. So a technology tool to help you go find off-market deals. And, the goal is, hey, how do you take all of the property data in the U.S., apply it to your market specifically, or, whatever market you're investing in, be able to focus on that geographically and then use our data to be able to filter down and find those hidden opportunities there. Whether it be, driving for dollars, which is like the first thing we were known for. That's really kind of the thing we kind of became synonymous with for the first few, 5 years, I'd say, of Deal Machine. And then over time, our goal has been, hey, yeah, like driving for dollars, we're best in class there, but also can be beyond that bigger picture, a real estate data platform that can help you do deals, whether it be you're driving, whether it be you're pulling a list based on our, on our data. And then the lead gen side is, okay, great. Once you have that list of opportunities of properties that are highly likely to sell sooner than later, your goal is then, okay, hey, get in touch with those owners and be able to do that in a way that, you're going direct to seller. You're not just looking for listings on the MLS that everyone else is looking at, but you're sourcing opportunities yourself. And so we've got tools to reach out to homeowners, whether it be, direct mail or, a call or an email, or, you could door knock. Like, you've got a lot of things that you could do to get in front of them. But it's a matter of, okay, help you pick out those opportunities that could actually become a deal, and then give you tools to make it easy to actually do that outreach. We've got a little bit of, deal analysis and things like that built into Deal Machine, but really known for like the data and outreach piece as well.
And Matt, I'm a huge fan. I'm an active member. My team uses it. The fact that from my phone I could dig into a property while I'm looking at it, I could find out roughly what I think it's worth, what the neighbors are, who it is, how to call them. Like, there's no need to skip trace. It's all right there.
Mhm.
And there's some scary information you could drill down and find. So the idea of filtering and spreading and kind of just zeroing in, there's a shotgun mentality that you could have,
Mhm.
or there's the sniper mentality.
Yeah.
And both work with the data aggregation that you guys have. Pretty,
Yeah.
and I
There you
love
go.
that it's visual too.
Yeah.
So some of us visual people, it's really nice when you could kind of just segment and see what's going on and get information pretty quick. So
For sure. Yeah. That's definitely an area that we really try to differentiate is like the usability of it. Cause you could have all this information, but it doesn't matter until you actually take action on it. Right. So it's how do you make that easy to absorb and take and then actually reach out and have conversations with people that are looking to sell. So,
and Matt, if they're watching the show and want to get a hold of, what do they do?
yeah. So I know you've got a couple of things we set up for you guys. One, you've got me direct, which I'll just share. My email is just matt@dealmachine.com. Happy to be helpful there. Feel free to reach out if you've got questions there. We also have, and I think we hooked you up with a link as well to make it so that we got some bonuses for people that are listening to this too.
Yeah.
If they go to that link, that'll be just trying out Deal Machine for 7 days free. If it sounds like an interesting tool for you, if you're going to look to do more real estate deals, then hey, go check it out and see what you think. With that, it comes with a bunch of bonuses that you wouldn't just get going through our website. We wanted to hook you guys up with something a little special there. So you get 500 free calling minutes if you're going to actually reach out to sellers via phone on the app. Or 50 free postcards if you're going to send mail and reach out to them that way. So you've got like the free tool itself, as well as free ways to reach out to those homeowners and be able to use it that way. I don't know if you have that link handy, but if you can link to that there. So yeah, check that out. And then I know we do have office hours as well. It's dealmachine.com/office-hours. And that's just like an open Q&A forum. So, if you're like, oh, how do I use this? Jump in there. And if you have specific questions, jump on those and, we can help you guys out too.
Yeah. And our code there is KD show.
There you go.
Right.
Yep.
For Kevin Dairaghi. I figure you didn't need to spell Dairaghi out all the time. So KD show will get you some of that bonus there as well. Matt, you really are a great guy. I love the fact that you are an expert in your craft with Deal Machine, right? Where you found your groove there, etc. But the fact that, you're very cognitive of your wife, your kids, and your career. Like, it's not just one or the other, which a lot of startups really kind of force you in one direction. But the fact that you stayed balanced through this process is pretty awesome.
Yeah, there are definitely moments where it's balance is a relative term, right? So I'm always trying to get better and better, but yeah, very very intentional and focused on my why I'm doing it in the first place is them. So
well, and there are sprints. There are times where you need to be more in one genre than another, right? But you can't make it a habit of always leaning one way or the other. So I like finishing with this question, Matt. If just a sec.
Yeah.
But when you're going through your ups and downs, is there a quote? Is there a movie? Is there a book? Is there a scripture? Is there a poem? Is there a story or analogy that you go to that you find kind of wisdom or the courage to keep going? It was Miley Cyrus for Adam Cruz, right?
That's amazing.
But like, what is it that you go to and lean on to know that tomorrow will be better?
Yeah. I think in the end too, I'm, definitely, faith-based as well. And I think that's like, I don't have necessarily a particular verse in that way, but definitely know that in the end, like, hey, that's also something that, matters more, in term than the money I'm making every day. Right. So, I think between the family, I'm really, lucky to have such an incredible, both friend group, but also family. Like, my parents are in town. Kira's mom unfortunately passed away, but her dad's in town. So we've got an incredible family support there. And friends too, that we've known, like I mentioned, we're in business with people that I've known for, 20 plus years. And, so I've got, it's really the support I can fall back on and be really open and honest with that, carries me through all of that. And, in the end, like, I think my parents did a great job setting an example. It's one of those things you don't necessarily appreciate until you get older and you're like, oh man, they did a good job. So, yeah.
Well, the fact that you found a wife and strong friends and a
Mhm.
business out of high school, like
Mhm.
that's, that doesn't happen all the time.
Mhm.
So awesome, Matt. It's been a pleasure chatting with you. Time flew by, so I
Yeah,
really do.
absolutely.
I thank you for all the stuff that you shared with us, and hopefully
Mhm.
I'll see you soon playing some pickleball with us
Yeah,
again.
I would love to. Yeah, thank you for the invite there, Kevin. Always appreciate you having me on, man. And yeah, looking forward to doing this again sometime.
Cool. Thanks, Matt.
Thanks.
Guys, so many wonderful things came out of this conversation with Matt before and after the conversation. But man, he is such a good guy. Part of the dots, he's in the business of finding houses. I'm in the business of buying houses. But so many of our people we know really just kind of align because we have a much higher calling. So it's really just awesome that we get to have these deeper conversations, right? And then also when we talk about things, we don't always know where people's faith and stuff lies, especially in business. It's not like you go out and just throw this stuff out there, but finding out like at the end, to like, what does he rely on? Primarily, it's faith. I actually made it 3 Fs. I'm not sure if he did that on purpose, but a lot of what he does is faith based. His family, his friends, like he's got a solid 3 Fs right there. That he really relies on. It's not a singular quote, it's not a this, but he's got a strong support group that I think is really awesome. I also noticed he had a strong mentor, especially early on. And if you notice the way that he was talking about how his mentor taught him this, it was through asking questions, it was through helping and teaching that was actually part of the sales technique, right? So it isn't that sleazy, squeaky shoe salesperson like, hey, what can I do? Using the tie downs and open-ended questions, which can be a part of the process, right? But it is one of those like it's the intent behind it. How can I give you good information to make a good decision, preferably with me? And then he said this, and I don't know if it was intentional, but I really thought it was a key note there. There's a difference about being a fan and working for a team. Um, and I think sometimes you think, you're a fan when you're working for this or that. But, a fan sometimes could just be a fan. And then working for the team, sometimes you lose that excitement or the passion of the fan. But, there is a difference of being a fan and working for a team. So, anyway, hey, great conversation. Hopefully, you guys enjoy it. And we will talk to you soon. Oh, don't forget, if you are interested in Deal Machine, they came up with this fantastic set of bonuses and gifts for you guys. So if you do look at Deal Machine and you type in the KD show, or actually just KD show, yeah, you could get all a bunch of bonuses and some free trials and stuff like that. So cool, guys. Thanks for being a part of us, and we'll see you soon.